So let's have a little chat, shall we? Okay, today I'm going to talk about something that is very, 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 very important. No more clowning around for right now. Anything that I talk about, let me say this first. Anything that I talk about, that is part of my spiritual work. And the video that I did yesterday or the day before, whenever, about exposing the title Exposing a Rat, that is how you let go of anger. You don't let it go with love and light. You get with that fucking energy that that person sent you the same exact way. See, it's not about the person, it's about the energy that they put out. See, what makes me so unique and what makes what in my mind, for me, what makes me so unique against people who show themselves as potential enemies is that I don't have to get you in your face. I don't have to get you in your face because I come from an energy. I am an energy. I am a force and a frequency that is very good with speaking things into existence. That's just part of my energy. And the reason I know that about my energy is because I had a Akashic Records reading done by Khadijah Samdi, and they're excellent. And I had that done years ago, and I know what gateway I was born through, and I know what my power is, and my power is my voice. It's my words. Like I tell people, my voice is my bread and butter. So, what makes me unique is that I don't have to confront the person physically. I can get with them in the spirit and use my words to affect them and to cause a reverberation, to create a reality for them and for myself. That is why I am successful at what I do. That is why I have the power and the control and the success that I do. And I'm not bragging, but I just want people to know that I'm not a one-dimensional gay person. You're not going to always get the fluffy, stuff from me. I'm going to get, if energy comes to me in a grimy way, I'm going to get with that energy the same way. But I'm not going to get with it physically. I'm going to get with it in the spirit, because in the spirit is where you make the most difference. In the spirit is where you can really fuck a person up the most. I'm not going back and forth with flesh and blood. Remember what it said in the Bible. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. We are fighting against spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay? So when a person like that rat yesterday, who came at me, I'm not going to go back and forth with no trash like that. I'm going to get with you in the spirit where you don't even fucking know. And because I'm so motherfucking stealth in what I do, because I'm a Virgo. See, Virgos, we may have our issues, but when we really get with you, we get with you. Same thing with cancers. Cancers are the same way. That's why I fuck with cancers too. That's why cancers and Virgos, at least for the most part, that's a friendship type of thing between me and cancers. Because when cancers get with you, they're the same exact way. Leos too. Cancers and Leos is what I really tend to get along with better. Now Libra men, they got some good motherfucking dick, okay? And they some freaky deaky motherfuckers in the bedroom just like I am, okay? And if there's any men out there who want to know how freaky deaky I am, you can hit me up at grantseer@yahoo.com if you live in the DC area. Trust me, we can keep it on the motherfucking low low. Don't nobody got a motherfucking know. Shit. But anyway, let me get into what I really wanted to talk about. But I just wanted to say that because I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. And, it's not just going to be one dimensional. because I'm not a one-dimensional or or a two-dimensional or a third-dimensional person. I don't do third eye. I'm sixth eye. I'm the sixth eye. The number 6. I see in six-dimensional view and beyond. Okay, so me talking about that yesterday, you're going to get that sometime. When I get that type of energy, I'm going to match it. Because once you match it with that, that's how you combat it, reverse it, get it off of you. See, I learned in Panic's class how to really do reversal shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not always about a candle. It's not always about lighting a candle. It's about getting with that energy in the spirit. You don't need the person to be in front of your face. When you really know what you're doing, you can get with that person without them even being around you. You can have an effect on a person without them even being around you. Okay? So anyway, enough of that. But that's my email address, grantseer@yahoo.com. If you need any spiritual consultations or spiritual guidance. If you are a man, I'm only giving services to men, gay, bisexual, straight, hetero, and there's a difference between hetero and straight. I'm not going to get into it in a video, but I will tell you if you need a consultation. So my services are for men and men only. I feel as though that I'm better here to serve those type of counseling services for men. Nothing against the ladies, but I don't think that I can give you what you need. I think I'm better served to work with the men. No disrespect to the ladies. I've had female clients, there were nothing wrong with them. They didn't do anything wrong. But I feel as though my spirit wants me to deal with the men in particular. And that's what I'm here to do. So I want to talk about trees, all right? I saw a video recently posted by Brother Panic. And, I do my work. I'm not a foo-foo dog. Like a lot of the people that follow him, I'm not a foo-foo dog. I got to put my little messy shit in here too. I do the work. I'm here to do the work. I'm not here to be friends or try to be friends with people on Facebook or try to follow people all around the internet. That's not why I am here. I am here to actually do the work. And even though I took Panic's class, I'm always interested in things that he may say or he has to say, or anyone that has any type of spiritual gifts or any type of spiritual insight. Okay? No matter how I may feel about the person on a human level, if they have anything of any value to say, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to listen to it. If, especially, if they did something to me and tried to attack my consciousness, then that's something different. I don't want to listen to nothing they got to say. I'm going to be honest with that. I'm still a human having a human experience. But the point that I'm making is this. I always learn something valuable by listening to him, not trying to be his friend, not trying to follow him around all the time and be in his chat trying to talk to him. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn. So he made a video talking about trees and communicating with trees. And he talked about that in class, but at the time that he mentioned it, I think, did he talk about that in class? I don't remember. I have the recordings, so I might have to go back and listen. I don't remember him mentioning that in my class cycle, but he talked about it in this live he just recently did. And I found that so profound in so many ways for me, not for him or anybody else, but for me. So he was talking about trees and how we need to start, how people, he suggested people start to communicate with trees more. And by me being gay, I'm already connected to that androgynous world because You don't know if a tree is feminine or masculine energy. That's left up to your own interpretation. Now, when I think of trees, I think of masculine energy because they're so big and they're so strong looking. So in my mind, this tree outside of my window is a masculine energy. That's in my mind. So when I think of trees, I think of masculine protective energy. But all in all, trees are androgynous because we really don't see a gender when we look at a tree or a plant. So they're androgynous in nature like we are, but we're so dumbed down that we put a particular label on ourselves and we don't tap into all of the different aspects of who we are, because androgyny is the true rainbow. That's the true rainbow. It has nothing to do with that LGBT flag. They took that and made that for their own political agenda and whatever the case may be. But the nature of androgyny is not about being this or that. It's about being a variety of different things that has nothing to do with sexual orientation. Has nothing to do with that. It's about the different layers of energies within your DNA, the different aspects of your soul, because the DNA connects to the soul. Okay? And trees connect to your soul as well. Here is where I'm going with it. So after listening to that live that Panic had did, I went outside 3 o'clock in the morning, because I ain't scared of a motherfucking thing, right? I went outside 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a big tree outside of my window. Huge. It looks like it has been there for hundreds of years. Okay? And trees communicate with me all the time. I just wasn't paying attention. So what I did was I went outside. I introduced myself. I talked to the tree like I was having a conversation with any person or any living thing. I poured libations to it. I'm not going to say what I gave it, but I gave it something that I like. This was the first night. The second night that I did that, the first night that I did it, let me back up for a minute. The first night that I did it, I had a really interesting dream. And I understood what the dream meant. I understood exactly what it meant. The dream was showing me where I needed to do work within myself. And my ego was trying to block that communication between me and my subconscious, which is the information the trees were sending me. And I saw something in my dream where my ego has been trying to block and prevent me from getting the things that I need on a spiritual level. Let me just say that, because I don't really want to go into my dreams, because that's my personal business. But I was able to identify the symbol of my ego in that dream and to destroy it. Okay? I was able to identify the symbol of my ego, because your ego can manifest in your dreams as well and torment you. See, in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger represented an aspect of the ego. And what he did was he used their fears to, in the movie, he used their fears to, in their dreams, to kill them and to control them, but ultimately to kill them, because he was an aspect of the ego. And that's what the ego does. The ego gets in the way and it blocks you. So I saw that in the dream. I identified the issue. I took the ego and I shrunk it down to the size of a baby until it was nothing. That part of my ego, your ego has many tricks to it, okay? It's many different tricks to it. So I shrunk that down to the size of a baby, and I threw it behind me, basically to say, get the fuck on about your business. That was one communication that I got from the trees. The second night that I went outside, I poured my libations to the tree, talked to it, and everything. Came back in the house. And there was an energy that was over me. But let me back up for a minute. I left a few parts out. The first night, let me go back to the first night. Hold that thought. This was the first night that I communicated with the tree. When I was standing there touching the tree, communicating with it with my mouth, I saw a million glittering lights. I saw fairies within the tree that were communicating with me. And like I said, by me being gay, I am part of that world anyway, so it's easy for me to access it. They'll show themselves to me because fairies, fags, whatever you want to call it. You know, they used to call gay people fairies, remember? We're talking science. We're not talking, no motherfucking human shit. We're talking science. So by me being part of that world anyway, I figured out, that's why it's easy for me to have this communication. Because I just told you that trees tie into the realm of androgyny, the Dionysian realm, whatever you want to call it. Trees tie into that realm. So back to the story, I just had to say that I saw fairies within the tree. I saw the fairies. I was able to see them. I didn't know what I was seeing at first. I rubbed my eyes. I was looking all around. There was no reflection. Those were the fairies within the tree. I could see them as clear as day. They were beautiful, glistening lights. Little balls of light. A lot of people may dismiss it and say, it's not this. They were beautiful little specks of light. Those are the fairies. Those are the other life forms that live within the trees. But because our minds have been turned against us, because our minds as black people have been actively turned against us, we don't recognize these things anymore. They showed you that in Charmed in the last season when the Charmed ones lost contact and the magical community turned against them. What they were showing you is how our subconscious mind has turned against, or how we have turned against the magic within us, the fairies in the magical world. Our minds have been perverted to turn against that. They've turned our own minds against us because these things are within our minds anyway. They're all inside of us any motherfucking way. That is why it's easy for me to communicate with these things, because I have direct access to it, because I am gay and because I am operating on that androgynous level. So back to the night 2. I just wanted to say that. Let me get back to the other part. So the second night I went outside, poured libations to the tree, spoke to it, came back in the house, and I can't even describe the energy that I felt and the communication. I made contact. I made direct contact. I felt it in my heart chakra, in my mind. Heart, mind goes together. I felt it. And when I tell you, it was one of the most amazing feelings that I've ever felt in a long time. It was warm. It was like being wrapped up in joy. It was understanding. It was full of wisdom and knowledge and clear direction. It wasn't a voice. I didn't hear a voice. I felt the vibration. I felt the energy. I felt the vibration and the energy speaking to my heart. So something directed me to turn on 639 hertz heart chakra frequencies, because trees are also connected to the heart chakra. That's green, right? That's green. Well, that's connected to the heart chakra, the love frequency, not the love that you're used to, this low vibrating version of love that we have been, that we've become accustomed to in this low vibrating frequency of a realm that we live in, but real love, which is knowledge and understanding and love of self, self love, self reflection. So then the trees started communicating to me, Seer, and I'm not saying, it didn't say it in words, vibrations. You have to be able to connect with it to understand what I mean when I say that. It began showing me that I needed to go back in my mind to my childhood before I was tainted by humanity, the mental illnesses of humanity, the degradations that we go through in humanity and having a human experience, before we became cynical, before we became fearful, before we became, stupid. Because see, when you are a child, when you have a childlike mentality and when you have a childlike heart, you're open to millions of possibilities. It's not until we reach a certain age that we really start to become stupid. So for me, that age was maybe between 3 to 5 years old. That was a time in my life, in my childhood, that I had no worries. I had no fears. I was completely in a state of nirvana. I wasn't worried about money. I wasn't worried about people accepting me. I wasn't worried about validation. I wasn't worried about if this person didn't like me. I wasn't worried about any of that shit. And the reason is, and see, you have to find your own way. And I'm only telling people that they can do this if they want to. You have to find your own particular way when it comes to identifying that place in your childhood where you were the least untainted by life. For me, it was between the ages of 3 and 5. That was when I was in pure heaven. And thankfully, I have retained memories where I can go back to that time. When I used to look at Mighty Mouse back in the day, y'all know I'm old because Mighty Mouse is a old fucking show. And it was even older than I was, because Mighty Mouse is really old, but the reruns or the syndications of it used to come on in the early 80s. But Mighty Mouse was a show that came on 20 years prior to my birth. 20 years prior. So I went back to those times when I used to look at Mighty Mouse on my little black and white television screen. Although they did have color TV, I had a black and white one, at that time. But hey, I remember sitting in my bedroom and my great grandmother bringing me dinner. Those were the times where I had the least stress. I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't, unhappy about anything. I felt surrounded by love. I didn't have a concept of good or bad or evil. I didn't have those concepts. Those struggles weren't inside of me. It's not until we get indoctrinated later on down the line that we become more stupid, that we become more ingrained into this matrix. And honey, let me tell you, no matter what type of spiritual work you do, if you are not working to heal the childhood trauma within you, or if you're not doing any work to reconnect with that child in you, which will activate the healing, then you're not doing any real work at all. Those are just facts. You're either going to do the work or you're not. And I'm only speaking for me, okay? So the more and more I tapped into that, the more and more it became clear and clear to me why I had to do that. Because, see, when you are at those ages, whichever age that may be for you, when you are in those stages and ages, when you are in those stages and ages where you are completely untainted, that is when you are mostly linked and connected to your soul. See, a lot of us are disconnected from our soul. That is why we feel a lot of the turmoil that we feel in our adult life. Because as you get older, you gradually disconnect from your soul, your imagination, etc., etc. And what the trees were telling me was that I needed to do a ritual every day. I got to do one today. I have to get into a habit of meditating on those times during my childhood when I was untainted, because that is where you're going to find your soul. That is where you're going to reconnect with your soul. When you go back to those times in your childhood where you were untainted, that is where you're going to find your healing. You're not going to find it from a candle. You're not going to find it being a vegan. You're not going to find it by trying to tear other people down. You're not going to find it that way. You're not going to find it by going on other people's platforms and trying to check other people. You're not going to find it by constantly, putting yourself in a position of victimization. And I'm saying this with love. I'm not saying this with hatred. I'm saying this with love. The energy was so amazing. It stayed with me for all night. And then I had another dream that same night where my ego started to basically attack. It started to attack. And I knew it was attacks from the ego. Things I had believed about myself that other people had tried to instill in me. Negative things. So the ego was uprooting that to block me from doing this work that I'm supposed to be doing for myself. But now that I know the machinations of the ego and how they manifest, now that I can identify them, there's nothing really it can throw at me that will throw me off my game. That is why I said in the beginning of the video, we're not dealing with flesh and blood. We're dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places. And when I say wickedness, I'm not talking about an evil spirit. I'm talking about the evil of the ego. The evil of the ego, and that evil is preventing you from communicating with higher aspects, higher spiritual aspects of yourself. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to drop this video and just tell you what my experience was communicating with trees. And like I said, the experience was all vibrational. I felt the communication in my spirit. I felt it in my mind, my heart. I felt it. It wasn't a verbal communication. It was a vibrational communication. It was on a vibrational level, a very high frequency and a very high vibration that can't even be explained. And you would have to actually tap into it in order to really understand it. And I'm only giving you all a tidbit of the experience. I'm not giving the entire experience, but this is enough. It was absolutely a beautiful experience. And that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you.